am Muhammad. I am from Jenin refugee camp. Welcome for everybody here, especially our friends in America. I will take you a tour in Jenin refugee camp. Come with me.
Jenin refugee camp. It is the good thing, or what I like to tell about, it's 1 square kilometer. Living with 17,000 people inside this 1 kilometer square. The camp is always changing. You never know what's gonna happen.
Jenin, it's almost, it's not dead. It's still alive. She's keep fighting to find her place. During her all of her history, she's fight. And I think she's closer of our personality.
I remember the days of Oslo. I was dreaming it's going to be that set. We are going to build our state. I fight my friends. When they are told me you will not get anything, I told them they are wrong. But after a year, I start to feel I am the wrong.
Nothing's happening in our life like what we want or what we plan. For me, I plan for something, but something different is happening for me.
Even Palestinians themselves, because they lived 70 years under this situation, they start to think this is our normal life. This is the Nakba. We accepting that we have occupation. We accepting the checkpoints. The checkpoints now in 2018, it's a modern checkpoints. It's not like before out, it's like roof, nice pavements, nice colors, and this very nice door with a good look. So this is Nakba for me. When you see Palestinian Authority working with that hard with the Israeli, with the collaboration, and they get nothing back, this is the Nakba. When you arrest and kill Palestinians, activists, because they do active work against the Israeli, this is the Nakba. When you see many Palestinians in the prison because they want asking for freedom and democracy, this is Nakba. So for me, the Nakba, exactly, not started in one time and one place. We're still living Nakba from that time and time before until now.
Look, it's as a Palestinian, the 70 years of Nakba, it's many generations they are past this time. And now I'm 50. And the Nakba is still in our side. It's left with my grandfather, live in peace, but he transferred it to us as a heritage, as legacy, to keep it. And especially we call it a right of return.
All my life, it's in Jenin refugee camp. The whole my friends, the whole my stories, my career, my job, all of my life here. I cannot imagine that if I go there, how I will live there. It's hard, but at the same time, it's our land. It's our story, it's our memories, it's our real. We cannot lift it.
For me, I'm a refugee. I'm a refugee in my own country. And I really didn't know what it means, refugee, until I really get adult. And I didn't really know the meaning of it until I traveled outside of Palestine, until I went to Europe, and I got what means refugee. So it was a surprise for me that, oh, my own people call me refugee too.
Now against everything is called peace. Because this word, it's peace, it's meaning pieces for me. To divide everything, as we know. Now we have Gaza, we have the West Bank, we have 2 states, we have dividing society, different parties who's against each other, and they are not looking for the same target, which is the freedom or the independent.
Main points that we try to do in Freedom Theater, which is still hard and still not achieved. We're trying to get individual freedom for each one. So we start from there. If each one of us can be free, here the start. So he can be free in his mind, then he can think how to make community free, how to free Palestine.
start with talking about the return to Palestine and the work who was performed in 2016 the first time, or?
Yeah, I think Return to Palestine, it's a result of, you know, the Freedom Bus story community collection. We have a production called the Freedom Bus where we have like internationals, activists, and some Palestinian artists, Palestinians, with some of the students of the Freedom Theater School. They go all in bus all through the Syria, the sea areas where it's, you know, the difficult situation where the community live there, you know, no electricity, no water, they cannot build anything. And all this difficult situation to push them to leave these areas. So all people go on one bus, in one tour, in one journey through all these places, and they use also the playback method theater to sit with the community, make that activities, and in the evening they listen to their stories and their performance for them. You know, it's a way of supporting, a way of telling them that we are with you, telling them that you should stay here. And after that long journey, the students were collecting the stories, and then they went back to Jenin, to the theater school, and they start to mix all these stories to one story about a guy from America. He would love to come back to Palestine because, you know, there is many Palestinians also grow up outside Palestine in the world who really, they heard about Palestine, but they don't really know what is going on there and how the situation. So this guy, he went back to Palestine and he discovered like it's totally different. What is reality and what is the news, especially in American news, you know, the Fox News, the whole media is totally something different. And he decided to stay there and looking for his dream to be going back to Palestine and his people. And he understood what means to be back between his family and to his homeland. And this story actually is not just about Palestinians outside Palestine, because we are the Palestinians who live inside Palestine. We really not easy to move all around. Like the people in Hebron, they don't really visit too much the people in, let's say, Nablus or Jenin, like south, north, because, you know, all these difficulties of checkpoints and, you know, people in the culture itself, they don't have that way to travel and see different places in Palestine. So we push people and tell them that we as a Palestinian, we need to travel around in our own cities and own places and get more connected to each other, which is also the first way of resist, to know ourselves and to know our areas and to get connected to each other.
I think it's about the return to Palestine, the importance for the play. It's talk about the concept of return. For especially all the time, the Palestinian here, especially the Palestinian refugee, all the time they talk about return, the right of return.
The right, yeah.
This is very interesting to talk about that, especially about, we talk about the Nakba. Ghassan Kanafani, he all the time mentioned for how the Palestinians, they can return, and he had a story to return to Haifa, for example. And here we talk about the concept of something, we consider it's like holy words, like right of return. The return is very important idea for the human here. How I can return, because all the dreams, all the issues in our mind about the idea of return to our homeland. And this is very important after 72 of the Nakba. And the main question, and I think the play, it's talk about this important question, put it in our face, why we are staying after all these years under the occupation? Why after all these years, we can't find the solution for our problem? And this is, we don't answer the question in the play, but I mean, it's put it in our eyes, put it in our face, and we try to find the solution, and we talk about solution.
Yeah, I think also the Nakba, it's not just the Nakba and the war, what had happened. The Nakba, it's also this kind of things that Palestinians and the world and the internationals forget to talk about the right of return, this is for me is the Nakba. The Nakba today that is Israeli managed to destroy our identity, our trust, our respect, our identity for who we are and where we come from. And even they destroyed the way of thinking that we still have homes and we still have villages that we want to return to. And this is, for me, Nakba, if we really want to define the Nakba today, it's really need a lot of discussion, and it's not anymore about what happened in 48 or all the time before. It's what is going on now as a young Palestinian, as a community. We really lost, we really have no shape as a Palestinian, as an identity, which is for me, this is the Nakba. I have no problem to be under occupation if I'm strong and I know myself, my identity, my history. But today we're talking about totally something really different. Where we are as mentally and as identity, as history, as borders, yeah.
That's where art is important, isn't it? That the Palestinian identity and the narrative and the collective is found and manifested through art.
That's exactly, that's what also one of the things was Giuliano talking about, that as an artist, our responsibility to rebuild all these destructions that the Israeli have been made, destruction of the identity, the history, the land, the community, who are we, all this stuff. So I think that's something we try to do in Palestine, is to explain that art and artists have a responsibility. We don't do art in sake just of art and to express the dreams that we're just looking for and the stars in the night. We have a big responsibility to rebuild and to talk about all this destruction and destroying that Israeli been made all these years for the Palestinians. And I think I want to mention too that all the international community, and especially Norwegians and British people, they have a lot of responsibility against the Palestinian case, because they were the main sides who really played a big role in where we are right now. And especially with the Oslo agreement, it's really, I was before reading the Oslo agreement, and I didn't understand how any normal human being could accept this kind of conditions.
If you could say a little bit about its perception, how was it received when you then played it back?
Yeah, I think people were so happy to see their own stories being performed on the stages. They were so shocked how this kind of simple stories affect the people. We were afraid that the Palestinians especially will not be really very interactive with it, because it's very normal stories and happen every day. But we were shocked from the reaction. They were like in shock to see these simple stories affect them emotionally like that. And you know, when you see a play performed with this kind of professional actors doing it in this way, they were so in touch by their own stories, and that's what we believe after that shows. And they got to feel the importance of telling a story, and how important to be allowed and to be aware of how you tell your story. And that's also talking about whole Palestine, how we will be able and how we will find a way to tell our own story to different people, to different communities, to different cultures. And the play being really played all over West Bank, cities, theaters, streets, community places, schools, and it's really, even for us as an artist or who people who was doing it or who was also with the theater, I watch it each time, I cry each time, I laugh each time, I get happy each time, because it have all these simple elements of that feelings that makes you engage with these moments in the play, because we saw all these moments each day. And that's our problem as a Palestinians too. We got to the checkpoints became normal, occupation became normal, to not allow to travel became normal, curfews became normal, because it happens to our daily life each day.
And that's also what we try to tell through this display. No, these things is not normal. We should stand and we should say no. No one else in the world have occupation, just only Palestine. No one in the world have this kind of occupations and checkpoints and the prisons, just only in Palestine. We have to stand and say no, and or we change it. So yes, it's affect all the audience, and we were so happy really in the Freedom Theater that we got to show display all over, and display even got 2 prizes in the Palestinian National Festival, and it got invited to Tunisia in the big Arab Festival, and to Kuwait to Arab Youth Festival, and we have been touring in Portugal. We toured also in France, and we have been in Luxembourg and Sweden. And I hope soon we will start to work and really find a good connection and collaboration on Norway, and we start to bring the work of Freedom Theater, and even we can produce or make a new work and produce a new work together in Palestine, Freedom Theater, and our colleagues and friends in Norway.
Yeah, beside Ahmed, that Turkey, to forget Turkey, Pakistan. And
yeah, Turkey, Pakistan, all over, Mustafa.
Not just that, the importance for this play, because this is important about the play. It's get the best show in the Palestinian National Theater Festival. This is a very important award. We get it in the first tour, in the first copy of this festival in Palestine in 2018. And that's that's coming. It's a big appreciation from the people they work in theater in Palestine about this kind of work.
We always, as a Palestinian, were thinking to fight Israeli. We never thought about the international community, which is also Israel was working a lot on that, and really have a lot of agenda to the international. And that's why we didn't have that big support for Palestinian in the beginning and what is going on. They were promoting us as a terrorist, as a violence people. They kill us, they bomb us, and we really were not really aware about what is going on in the world. And that's very important to have the international community. But when the Freedom Theater came, it says like, no, stop, this is a wrong way. There is an international language, art. It's an international language. Everyone can understand it wherever, anytime, anywhere. And we start to talk about, okay, so what's that mean? That means we have to make a new revolution, a new intifada, but it's cultural. It just talks about theater, music, all this kind of art where we can reach everyone in the whole world. And that's for us a big idea. And yes, we adopt it, and now we really is thinking that we resist through art, we fight through art. And we believe killing and violence and guns does not make anything, it just kills people. And our big achievement is to change people and to change opinions by theater and by art. And that's what we really believe in. And you know, it's to die if they kill us, because if we're doing theater, then what we can do, you know what I mean?
But unfortunately, this year, 2020, we face something new from Europe in general, from European Commission, European Union, and something from Sweden, something from the organization that are already support the Freedom Theater or support the cultural organization in general in Palestine. Now they ask us to sign for the political conditions. It's new. It's considered that all the Palestinian parties is terrorist parties, and for sure we can't sign for this agreement or for this call, and because we can't put ourselves to be the enemy of our people. They consider all the ex-prisoner, not just the prisoner, the Palestinian prisoner in the jail now. The ex-prisoner, they are terrorists, and for us, we don't accept totally to sign for this. And not just that, we ask all the free people in all the Europe to support the Palestinian to cancel these conditions and to support the Palestinian in their rights, because it's clear for us, we are under occupation and we need to get our liberation. Where is the problem in that? All the international law, all the statements, the human statements, they support this right. But now, because I think under the pressure coming from Trump, the US government, and Israel, they follow that and they put us in this situation. I mean, and that's important to mention, all the NGOs, and especially the cultural organization in 2021, we really faced very difficult financial situation. We will face that. Now, now we can control it because now we try to deal with this situation. But I mean, for the future, we will face really big problem. And for that, we think about new resource, new ways to continue to find solution in this financial crisis. Yeah.
And because you also have a theater school, you're not only a theater and producing performance.
Theater school, multimedia program. We have a professional company for our production. This year, for example, we prepare ourselves for the big production about Gaza, Metro Gaza, and different projects. In fact, we think we launched already the revolution promise with the creative destruction. I mean, we have different projects, but we don't know how we can continue if we face this kind of problems. Maybe Ahmed like to add something here.
It's really it's a major point now, because even like Arabs, even they are normalizing with Israel normalizing about the case because of all what is going on with the politics of Iran. The European Union as a funding culture, they put a lot of rules. SIDA, as the Swedish funding organization, is also signing the same agreement about funding. And you know, in Palestine, my family or Mustafa family or anyone family, like if my cousin was in a prison or if my cousin, whatever, like any member of the family had anything to do with any politics, you are not allowed to work in theater or an artist, or you will not get funding money from this kind of organization, which is really, for me, it's really crazy. And the drama, the cinema, the movies, the series, even Arab world, especially in Gulf, they're promoting the peace in their way, as the Israeli wanted. They're promoting the rights of Israel existence. They're promoting about that the Palestinian is the problem, is not the Israelis. We're really facing a big propaganda in very modern way. And I think if Palestinians will not try to find the ways to face this kind of propaganda, for me, Palestine and Palestinians, it's just about time. So I think like in 100 years, as a Palestinian, I will be not existing anymore. And that's what I'm afraid of after all this kind of thinking, of working, and what I looked about the history and what they're preparing, the deals. It's really Palestine and Palestinian is about time. And I'm really worried about that. I'm telling people that if we really don't do something, we will be disappearing anyway. So yeah, we need to do something and get together and really face this kind of propagandas.